Hey everyone, I know it's been a while since I've released a podcast, but I've been busy with a lot of projects, as I've mentioned before. However, I did want to release one today because recently I lost a very dear friend of mine. His name was Michael Blum. And for those of you who didn't know Michael, you missed knowing a very special, talented guy who was a musician that I had the privilege of working with on many occasions just for fun. We did these things at his home called the Friday Night Jams, where he invited a few of us over. Him and Lori, his wife, invited us over, and we would do these jams where I met a bunch of creative people, people that are still my friends for years now. So Michael was a very successful producer. He worked with acts from Bon Jovi to Crissangel to 50 cents, or I think it's 50 cents. I hope I'm saying that right. Michael followed his passion and he worked mostly with musical acts, which, music was a big, big part of his life, and he shared it with a lot of people. And I wanted to share with you this older conversation that I had with Michael, who was, by the way, one of my first guests. And I always knew that I could count on Michael because I got to pick his brain about a lot of things whenever I was trying to put something together, especially in the entertainment business, whether it be a show, a movie, musical question. He referred me to a lot of people too. I met Michael through Ike Solomon, who was a really fun, great guy who's also a musician, and he introduced a lot of people to each other. And um, Ike was at some of our rehearsals as well. And Lori, his lovely wife, who became my friend through Michael. And, he was lucky enough to find love later in his life, and I was very happy for those two. I was at their wedding. And for all of us that knew Michael, we really appreciated his generous spirit of sharing his home and his time and his intelligence and his humor. So please enjoy this conversation with my friend, Michael Blum.
Candid with Kimbra.
How you doing?
Candid with Kimbra.
Telling ya.
Candid with
I'm really excited for you to check out this interview.
Candid with Kimbra.
Michael Blum, welcome.
Good
How
to see
are
you. Very well, thank you.
Good. I'm so glad that you're here today. We had a little, fun times with the camera, and now we've got it going. So I have Michael Blum, and I know Michael as a musician. That's how I know Michael, as a musician, and a very good musician, right?
Thank you.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, there are far better out here.
Well, I don't know. You're good. You're good. Like, you practice a lot too. And I've noticed recently you've been getting, I told you this, you said you were taking lessons again a
Yeah,
little bit, right? And it shows.
I hope so. I paid for them.
And do you practice every day, by the way, or
I try to, yes. I mean, I don't even call it practice. I just call it playing.
right? You just go into the studio that you have in the house?
I have a piano in my, I have a keyboard in my office and a piano downstairs. So there's pretty much a keyboard in every room that I need it to be.
Okay. I wanted to ask you too, like, when did you start playing the piano? Were you a kid, like five, six,
Yeah,
seven?
when I could reach.
Really? What?
Literally, yeah. But we had a piano in the living room. At the time, I could barely get on the bench, but it was a Baldwin Acrosonic spinet, and it had a lid that I figured out that if I just covered it so that the tips of the black keys were showing, and if I held the damper pedal down, if I could reach it standing up, I could play just the black keys, and I'd be playing basically in five flats in E flat minor. I can make up stuff all day long and not hit a wrong note. So to
Wow.
my parents, that sounded really good. They assumed I was talented. So I,
Really,
so I
you pulled
started
them
taking
into
lessons.
lessons, right?
Yeah, but then we found out I had an ear. We went and saw the musical Oliver, and I remember we had a little fluty Melich toy almost,
Yeah.
and I started playing "Where Is Love" on it.
Oh,
And so I got a Magnus chord organ that had all the keys numbered, and I would play by the numbers: three,
right.
2, 1, 3, 5, 5, 5. And that's sort of how I learned at first, was just learning by the numbers
Oh,
and,
wow.
and ear, just hearing it. Is the note higher or lower than the last one? If I
Right.
could discern whether it's higher or lower, I could pick my way until I hit the right one.
Yeah.
And
And
that's how I self-taught.
so were you mostly into like classical in the beginning, just from when you were studying, or did you listen to pop songs on the radio?
My my music teacher, Dr. Boris Bazala, who was a concert pianist from
Uh-huh.
Romania with knuckles the size of your elbows,
Yeah.
he was into classical and trained me in classical.
Hmm.
He was usually very concerned when I jazz up Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata Pathetique and turn it into a jazz tune.
Right.
I was less apt as a classical student and
Hmm.
much more apt to improvise. And then high school, everything changed because they brought in a studio session jazz guy that played sax named Mac Goldsberry, who taught me the first time I ever comped. I didn't know what comping was. And the first jazz tune I learned was actually Herbie Hancock's Watermelon Man.
Mm.
And we're still playing that. That's our warm-up sound check tune.
I
I'm
know.
actually seeing Herbie at the Bowl on Wednesday night. I've met
Wow.
him 3 times.
Hmm.
And and when I say there are better people out here, yeah, that would be a measuring stick I would go by. That gentleman is extremely
Wow. That's kind of
unique
neat.
in his talent.
That's really
Well, he
awesome.
was 17. He was playing for Miles Davis. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he was a prodigy. I'm not a prodigy.
Well, but it's what a great outlet you have because you have this whole other world that your day job, which is being a producer, right? And then you've got music. It's such a cathartic. I'm so glad you never gave it up, right?
Oh no, no, that's the girlfriend I never broke up with. I mean, I might have cheated on Steinway with Yamaha, but for the most part, as you know, we call our jams cheaper than therapy.
Right.
And it is. And look, music is medicine. It's just fantastic.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I hope to be playing till I'll play at my funeral.
Right. You can't play anymore. So you got into rock, I think, right?
Oh, of course.
You know,
Yeah.
and you're
Garage bands as a kid, bar mitzvah bands, wedding bands, had
any
all the instruments, had gearitis, collected everything that ever came out, and still have gearitis. So
Yeah, and you got that great studio above your garage, which is, which as we know, was jam night.
we've had some amazing people play here, not always in the studio. I mean, we had Jackson Brown in the living room, and we've had Terry Nunn of Berlin played in the studio. Um, just really good musicians have come through. I just pinch myself and go, "Am I really here?" It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
So when you got into producing, because I was looking at the roster of people that you've worked with, and there's been a few musical acts, right? Was that by choice, do you think, or just
What I gravitate to. I
um,
mean, music, is where I worked in concert production all through college. I worked for the
mhm,
biggest concert promoter in Chicago.
mhm,
So they had like 10 venues with from 500 seats to 20,000.
mhm,
And so every week in college, I was working shows at all these venues in
mhm.
production. And from that, I started promoting concerts myself, which was an interesting business
Yeah.
at the time. And now it's all taken up by AEG, and who I also worked with. I worked with AEG, but
Right.
and Live Nation. But I started working with Bon Jovi. I've done video for him for I had a period of 10 years. Um,
That wasn't your
I
first.
worked,
That wasn't your first big client, though, right? Bon Jovi wasn't.
no, I started a casting agency in the first music, and it was at the start of the music video craze, really. MTV was just coming online. I
Hmm.
started this company in, I think, 83.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael Jackson and whatnot. And I literally had worked on Captain EO and the Space Knights, which was Michael's really the most expensive music video ever done. It was like a $20 million 3D video directed by Francis Ford Coppola, produced by George Lucas, 10 sound stages, everything under top secret at Laird, now the Culver City Studios. And every day I was casting for this, incredible production. It was only shown in Disneyland and Disney World. They built theaters for it. And it was really the predecessor of like the Sphere. The theater was built for the production with laser effects, and the 3D effect had never been done. And we didn't know if it was going to work. And we went to the premiere at the Disney Theater, and the opening shot is deep space coming at you, a space field. And in the backdrop, you see this thing coming at you, and this asteroid comes in, and it's tumbling forward. And literally, it's coming right at the screen, getting bigger and bigger. And then it's like coming out of the screen, and the front row is going to touch it, and the second row, and the third. And you realize it's working. It was that three-dimensional that people were trying to push the asteroid.
That's awesome. Sounds like something that, out of this, the laser tour. What's that place in Hollywood, the Griffith Park Observatory? It's almost like that, that thing that will go over you like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, planetarium entertainment. And, when I was growing up in New York, they had Laserium. And they would do the Pink Floyd shows, and everybody would get Pink Floyded and go see the shows.
So that's so okay. So Bon Jovi came kind of, no, I'm sorry. Michael Jackson was first. Did you get to meet Francis Ford Coppola and Michael Jackson?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. No, I literally worked for them and with them. And it was quite the experience, and very, very heady. We had the first computerized casting agency. This is, the Apple iMac came out in 1984, that famous commercial during the Olympics. And we had bought a compact floppy disk thing with all these A drive, B drives, and I hired a dating programmer who had done a dating program, so that if you were looking for blonde, 6 feet, green-eyed that knew how to sword swallow, I could literally plug in and register all these people's resumes. And we knew that you'd be able to transmit pictures to the producers and directors, but the only storage banks and speed that had that at the time was the FBI. They could store pictures.
Right.
And then when Steve Jobs left Apple and started Next, and William Morris signed up jobs in Next, they started to get pictures. But because we were able to rapidly cast people to 126 different database points, what happened with Michael Jackson was they had hired Jeff Hornaday, who had done a chorus line, the choreographer.
Sure.
And he was doing all the choreography. But they were union dancers, and they were getting paid a lot of money. And they were all fitted to costume. They were all fitted to the shoes, the everything. And when the budget started to run over, they wanted to cut the union dancers, but they needed extras that could dance. And literally they called us up at like midnight and said, we need 120 dancers to dance with Michael Jackson tomorrow. Can you do it? And here are the clothing sizes. So we literally had to data enter dancers and then each of the different clothing sizes and try to get as many people to fit the already done costumes.
Got it.
And it was an all-nighter, and we got people thought we were hanging up on us, though. They thought we were crank calling 1 in the morning. We're like, would you like to work on a music video tomorrow? And they're like, what do you, and I'm like, with Michael Jackson. They're like, no.
At 1 a.m. Wow.
But we filled the call, and actually that's what put my casting company on the map.
That's
ironically, it was named Magic Casting, and later I did the most popular magic show. Well, actually, the Masked Magician was more popular, but I did Crissangel Mind Freak for 3 seasons.
Right, I remember that. So Michael Jackson kind of got you on the map, and then what was your first big act after that?
I was working for David Horowitz in Fight Back, and we did a documentary for CBS or KCBS. I did a documentary on death and dying in America. It was Death American Style, and if you remember, Love American Style was an old TV show. I did Death American Style.
Wow.
And I got nominated for a local Emmy, which was nice. and that sort of started me on the producing route, was
Hmm.
getting a local Emmy and moving into the producing realm.
But
Um,
but I know you went to Northwestern, right?
yeah,
What was your major? Was it theater arts or?
at the time it was called radio, TV, film.
Oh.
They now call it School of Communications,
Hmm.
and and I majored basically in television and film and radio, but I got an even greater education producing concerts and working downtown.
That's right. Yeah. You know who else did that too? Harvey Weinstein.
I have a few things in common, but not that many.
I'm kidding. I might
I've
go
met
back.
him though, and he owes me money, to be honest.
I know. I remember. Yeah,
He and Bob stiffed me. Yeah,
I heard
yeah,
that. I heard that. No, but
yeah.
I didn't know him, of course, but I knew a girl that actually kind of dated him, and she was always like telling me that he was a concert promoter back from Buffalo or something like that. So this is before everything snowballed.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. No, I mean, in his time, he was the Hollywood mogul epitome,
Of course. Yeah. I mean, his
and
films were so well, his films were quality, and he got all the stars,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
But he turned out to be not a pretty
I
horrible person, and my interactions with him, I didn't particularly like him, but
I
yeah,
know, I know. I actually met him too through this friend of mine that was dating
yeah,
him, what I told you. you know.
yeah.
But it was interesting. But yeah, well, that happens a lot, right? People that do make great art, in my opinion, not often. A lot of times they're not. They can be not the best people too. It doesn't mean.
Well, brilliance, comes with a lot of brilliance and fame, does change people. There were a
Eccentric.
lot of people that I thought were going to be a-holes that turned out to be sweet as pie. And a lot of people I thought would be sweet as pie are not so sweet.
That's true. I know. I had that experience recently too, and it was I was helping some people with music at a local organization that had a really great reputation, and so I was like, oh, they're so wonderful. And then you find out sometimes, when someone stabs you at the back in the back, you're like, oh, sometimes I'm still kind of gullible that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy business. You learn a lot as you go along,
Sure,
and I've worked with a lot of celebrities, and I find that my approach has always been, they're people just like us.
sure, sure.
And if you treat them as people with respect, just like us, they'll treat you with respect.
It's,
But yeah, you run into differences. I was directing Whoopi Goldberg, for example. It was one of the first times that I was doing a pretty big star directing
Mhm.
directly, and she was a bit lackadaisical at the time. It depends on what day you get someone. You don't know what they
Sure,
did last night, right?
sure.
So I was looking for a read, and I said to her, I said, "All right, let's do another take with more oomph." And she looked at me and she's like, "What's oomph? Whoopi doesn't do oomph." And I figured, she might know what oomph was, but she just felt like being difficult, I guess.
Honoring.
And so I said, "Can you do it faster?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Can you do it louder?" She said, "Yes." I go, "Oomph."
See, a director was born.
Like I said, you'll learn as you go, I worked at E for 4 years,
Oh, I didn't know that.
and yeah, I was a producer at E, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment, and
Mm-hmm.
Greg Kinnear was just be blowing up as the on Talk Soup, but
Mm-hmm.
he was getting a little bit, and he hated having to do the promos, and I was directing promos,
Mm-hmm.
and these promos have to be to time. You have to be, within 28 seconds to leave time for a little logo tag, and
Sure.
it's very precise. And he would purposely just, mess my time up just to mess with me.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn to deal with these things, and they're all really talented people. So
Sure.
they get a lot of latitude. There's a reason that they get where they get, and a lot of them I found are super hard workers. I
Yeah.
mean, as difficult as they may be, some of them are absolute perfectionists.
Sure.
And a matter of fact, Michael Jackson, take after take after take,
Really.
just very physical dance moves. And this guy hits his mark every time and tries to do it better. I mean, he's like, let's do one more, and
Mhm.
and they don't care what hour it is. It's it's a 25/8 business when you're in production.
That's
And
You're right. And sometimes people at that level, whether it's arts or business or whatever, they're such hard workers themselves, and sometimes they demand that of others, and that's where they get the reputation, like, oh, they're,
right,
but
not sometimes. They all the time. And
right,
50 Cent, talk about a self-made guy, unbelievable.
well,
And who's been down, back up, and now he's riding high. Chris Angel worked his butt off to get where he did. Bon Jovi works so hard. I
really,
mean, I've watched him. He does vocal warm-up lessons before the concert. He does them after the concert. He
wow,
has to get his, he had to get his back worked on. He had throat issues. Richie had carpal tunnel from all the playing. And then John would like literally watch the playback of the concert to take notes and
wow.
give notes.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize
Now,
he was such a perfectionist,
he
John.
is the captain and the owner of the football team. And he takes it seriously, and you have to at that level, and just think about it. He's competing, his competitors are the Rolling Stones or
Sure.
U2, so he sees their shows and he's like, I got to be better than that.
Well, good for him.
So yeah, no, I have nothing but respect for the people that I've worked for, and and they're inspiring, really.
Did you do that whole Chris Angel? I know you produced his show in Las Vegas, right? Chris
I
Angel.
produced the TV show that aired on A&E. I didn't produce the
Oh,
live show.
oh, I
The
see.
live show was a partnership with Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, I
And
see.
then when that partnership broke up, then he continued on with a revamped version. But
Hmm.
it all stemmed from doing, I don't know, I think I did 60 something half-hour episodes and a couple of
Hmm.
1-hour specials, a
Hmm.
couple of music videos, a couple of how-to videos and magic kits. And we did a lot.
Right.
Uh, and I was not a magician or a magic person per se.
Hmm.
But as Chris asked me, do you know how to do magic? I said, only on TV. He said, all right, you'll do.
Right.
But I learned all the secrets of Houdini. I mean, I could levitate you.
Really?
Uh, yeah. I told that to 50 Cent because I was doing stage illusions on his last tour.
Yeah.
And I said, and we're going to do this incredible quick change where his shirt changed like right in front of you in like 2 seconds from, Gucci to Balenciaga to, it's just boom, boom, boom. And it's a really cool effect. And then I said, yeah, but it's going to be cooler if we do it while you're in midair. He said, you can do that? I said, yeah. I said, we can levitate you. He said, how much is that going to cost? I said, well, how high do you want to go? you know. And then I said, how much do you weigh? He said, well, by the time we do this, I'll be down to, his
Right.
goal weight.
Hmm.
And I said, yeah, we can do that, but it would have been too risky. Magic, you got to get it right every time, and it takes a lot of rehearse and practice. It's not something you wing, and if you screw up, people can get hurt.
Yeah.
With Chris Angel, I mean, it was a unique producing challenge because you're dealing with everything from wild animals. I mean, we're making pumas appear and tigers and
Hmm.
insects and scorpions out of eggs, and then you're doing pyro and lighting them on fire, and then you're doing underwater cage escapes in Mexico, and then you're doing a car stunt show, aerial. I mean, we did every possible producing challenge on that show, and it was quite the education. And I figure if I can produce that, I can produce pretty much
Anything.
anything.
Yeah. How did that thing come up, though, with getting back to 50 cents? How did that thing come about? Did he find you through, your agent? Were you
Now,
recommended?
my 50s attorney had been working with him for quite some time, but he became my partner in other producing projects.
Mm,
And he said, it's going to take us about 5 years before we can convince 50 to go with us on something.
mm,
And sure enough, 5 years later, he was still doing legal work for him, but we were able to sell a show to A&E,
hmm,
and we did 2 pilots for A&E.
hmm,
They didn't get picked up at A&E, but we ended up selling another show
hmm,
to BET,
mm.
and we actually did a series called 50 Central.
Hmm.
Didn't was not the ratings blockbuster we were hoping for. We were really hoping to do a black version, basically, of Saturday Night Live. There really hadn't been done much since In Living Color
Yeah.
and Key and Peele.
Right.
So we saw there was a niche in the marketplace.
Mhm.
It ended up performing really well on digital. They put it on BT Digital,
Hmm.
and a lot of the bits were really pretty funny. And so when you took it apart and the skits that worked, they got the viewership that a half-hour cable show would never get.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I was wondering how you got that because I didn't know if it was your agent or what.
No, it was my partner.
But I saw you at the Super Bowl. Was it about 3 years ago or so? Weren't you at the Super Bowl when 50 Cent was performing there? 50 Cent?
Yeah, no, my partner was there with him.
Oh,
I was at the party after, actually.
oh, okay. That's
I
what I
was I
thought.
was with him at the I went to the party after. I was
Yeah, I saw a picture of
that's,
you and Lori. I was like, oh, wow.
yeah. Lori's done his makeup. We shot him here, and Lori did his
Really?
makeup for him.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah, she's done everybody. Um,
yeah,
she really
yes,
has. I follow her on Instagram, Lori Rubin, and
yeah.
but I don't think she's called Lori Rubin. I can't remember what she's called on Instagram. But anyway, she's all these celebrities that she used to work with up at that Mulholland and Beverly Glen, I think, up there somewhere, right?
Oh yeah, she's got a bunch of them are in that enclave or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Speaking of which, I wanted to say, congratulations on your wedding of last year.
thank you. Yeah, my first anniversary is coming up.
I know, right? It's like, are
Yeah,
you guys going to do anything special for that?
I'm hoping to take her to Europe. Yeah,
Really? Again? You guys went? You went already and you
yeah.
guys,
We like going to Europe. We're gonna hit a
oh,
few countries we didn't hit last time, but
right.
hopefully, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, a friend of mine just was there for the Olympics and he's like, "Are you coming?" And he's very spontaneous. Like he goes like 2 days before, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I need a little more notice.
I fully understand.
Yeah,
Paris is pretty crazy right now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so is producing still like, I mean, because I've produced some things before, and to me, I didn't think I would like it, and I do like it. It's creative, because you're assembling things from nothing sometimes, and you got to use your know-how, your street smarts, whatever it is. But is it still? Do you still like doing it? Do you still like
Oh
producing?
yeah.
Yeah,
I like to say they bring chaos to order and order to
that's right.
chaos,
Yeah,
and it's a logistical puzzle. So some people do crosswords. I do very expensive, multi-logistic productions, but it's sort of like doing a crossword, a Sudoku. You're
right,
trying to make all the pieces fit, make them come in on time, make them come in on budget, and make sure that the money's on the screen, that it looks like more was spent to achieve the effect. And that's kind of what I do, on time, on budget, and they'll hire you again.
right.
Not on time, not on budget, a lot harder.
Right.
So, yeah.
That last time I spoke with you, you had a couple projects that you're working on. Are you still like have the same ones, or do you have different ones that you're trying to get distribution for? Or
The market changes, what I was doing pre-COVID versus post-COVID, the whole industry changed, and television's having a tough time. It's a medium that's sort of on the decrease as opposed to the increase.
hmm,
And
hmm.
eyeballs are coming in other places, but the budgets to get those eyeballs in the other places are different. So unless you're
Smaller?
doing really,
Is it smaller budgets for these new projects you're talking about? Like money, I mean.
oh, yeah, unless you're doing really big tentpole stuff. If you're doing Game of Thrones, there's a lot of money.
Sure.
I'm not doing Game of Thrones,
Right.
so the margins are much smaller, and the people that are getting paid off above the line are greater. You got to feed a lot of mouths before the money actually goes on the screen. If you're paying the best friend who introduced the writer to the producer to the, and you're paying the agent or the manager as an executive producer, and you're paying, it's getting a little crazy with the credits, and the Producers Guild is
That's
trying to put a
true. You're
clamp on it.
right. You're right.
But they all get paid. Everybody's got to get paid. So,
Right. Yeah, but you're right about the thanking everybody. There's so many names and everybody's producing now, like
oh yeah,
especially if they're a
yeah.
star, right?
Well, that's a bonus. In other words, that's a way to give a star more money
Mm,
on a different part of the budget line item.
hmm,
And so you'll see what happens is you'll see a star on a beginning show and they're just credited as a star. And then all of a sudden, the next season, if it's done well, they're a producer. Or the next season, if it's done really well, they're an executive producer. Well, those are all bumps incrementally for salaries.
That's true. Like I used to watch Sex and the City, and I don't think Sarah Jessica Parker was always a producer, but
No,
later.
no. But when it got big, she did. She
Yeah,
became one. Same
that's
thing with Julie Louis Dreyfus. I went to school with, and on Veep, all of a sudden, then she's a producer. So
right,
and,
right.
and it makes sense. I mean, they have enough input into the whole shows. They are producers.
That's true.
So in that case, it makes sense. When it's some talent manager that's just trying to get an additional piece,
Mhm.
then it's a different story. Right now, the industry's having a bit of a lull, and a lot of the business has shifted. You don't need to be in Los Angeles anymore.
That's true.
It affected the tourism business because the stars aren't even here. They all have ranches in, Montana or something, and a
Um,
lot of the a lot of the production.
Jackson Hole.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of production went to Georgia, and a lot of production went to Vancouver in Canada. 50 is invested in Louisiana and Shreveport, building a full studio complex there. So no longer are New York and LA your only hubs.
Sure.
So a lot of the work for tax incentives goes out of town. It's not local anymore.
I wish that we would. I mean, I'm not totally up on that, but I just wish that LA or California would get more tax incentives because I wish they would be, bring more business here.
Totally agreed. Governor Schwarzenegger wanted to. He knew the value of it, but unfortunately, it's an expensive place, and it costs more to shoot in LA and New York than it does in those other places.
Yeah,
Prague. I mean, a lot goes to Czechoslovakia, and some of the Middle Europe countries are getting a lot of production business.
true, true. Or even like Texas is getting a lot of stuff too. Atlanta area, Atlanta. Um,
That's Georgia.
yeah, you said that already, didn't you?
Yeah, Georgia's getting it. But,
Yeah.
also the music business shifted too, where, people suddenly are in Nashville more, and Georgia has a big rap production scene. And, so even the music is actually shifting where it
Yes.
comes from.
I know I was in Nashville a year and a half ago, and like a lot of my LA friends are live there,
Hmm.
because they bought places that, and we're talking, pretty big musicians that, they sold everything and moved there, and they're pretty content living there. But you still like
Yeah.
LA, right? You still like LA.
I moved here in '82, and yeah, I took to it. I definitely took to it. Not everyone does.
Yeah.
I said, you gotta give it at least 3 years to know if it's, your kind of place. But I've watched it change over the years too, and I've always wished that they would treat Hollywood as the world-class destination with worldwide recognition that it should be. And then the tourists come here, take one look at Hollywood and Vine, and go, "This is a slum."
I know. I had two friends visit me from Austria, these two girls that I knew, and they said, take me, this is years ago, they said, take me to Hollywood, and they were like, it's disgusting, it's terrible,
Yeah, yeah. It's. I'm hoping that when we get the Olympics back,
Yes, they
they
will.
tend to clean it up for the Olympics.
Sure.
When I moved here, when the first Olympics was here in '84,
Hmm.
everybody thought that LA was going to be impossible. You wouldn't get restaurants, couldn't get a hotel, couldn't get a cab. Everybody left town. It was glorious. The sky turned blue again. Nobody was on the road. It was
Oh my God, that's when
perfect.
I love LA is when everybody leaves,
Yeah, when everybody leaves, exactly. So, and they cleaned everything up. You used to go down Sunset Boulevard, and literally it was hookers on every corner.
Oh, I know.
And
I remember.
and people used to get in car accidents gawking at these flamboyant people on the corner. But that was the year the SX70 Polaroid got bought up by the LA Police Department. So instead of having to bring them downtown or to a police station to book them, they could do it right there on the street. And you'd be going down the street and you'd see popping flashes, and they'd be taking their mug shots there on the sidewalk.
Oh my gosh.
And that moved everything off of Sunset Boulevard in time for the Olympics.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's crazy.
Did you see Newsom was on the news yesterday, was helping help clean up the homeless. He's very, I'm sure he's getting pressure from somebody, but he was like, uh.
It's an issue. It's look, if you're a homeless person or not a homeless person, where do you want to live?
Right.
If you can be by the beach and it's beautiful weather, I mean, all year round, and who wouldn't want to be here? And then other states were giving their homeless people, $50 in a bus ticket, and
Yes.
really setting them here. So it's not, they make it sound like on the news that it's all illegal immigrants. That's not who's on the street.
That's true.
It's not illegal immigrants they work, they get jobs. They're powering our restaurants and pushing our lawnmowers. I mean, they're doing a lot of work. And but there are veterans on the street that should be taken care of, drug addicts on the street that need help, runaways on the street that need help. But they're all different groups, and it's a systemic problem. And moving them from one place to the next doesn't solve the problem.
I know. It's a phenomenon that I didn't ever see coming, Even like in the Valley, gosh, 10 years ago, it was not,
Yeah.
the Valley was like kind of didn't have a lot of homeless, but now it's got a lot.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere does, and other cities as well. I mean, it's a national issue, and I have ideas of what they should do to solve it, but I'm not in that position. I'll stick to show business.
Well, maybe you could do a show about it.
Yeah, actually,
that might be something to think about. Clean up.
There's a lot of liability.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then there's all these, you can't take pictures of them because whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I'm sure that other people have thought and have pitched things in that vein.
Right.
And but in a way, a movie that won an Academy Award was that really portrayed an area of the nation that we don't hear about, which is what they call the nomad class. And it was a movie called Nomads.
I heard it was great. I heard it was
great. And it was done by a Chinese female director.
I know.
But she really captured this growing portion of society that I call the mobile homeless. They live out of RVs and out of trailer wagons, and they all go seasonally. Like sometimes there'll be seasonal workers. They know that Amazon right before Christmas hires, and then there might be something somewhere else. And they literally are nomads that just travel the country and live out of their vans, cars.
I heard Frances McDormand was really good in it too.
She was excellent. But it's a slow movie and slow paced. It's not for everybody, but it really was super insightful, and really showed a growing portion of the nation that we don't really think about. These RV dwelling people, and it was interesting. She had been a teacher and fell into financial straits, and one of her students saw her in a 7-Eleven or something and said, "I heard you were homeless." She said, "I'm not homeless. I just don't have a house."
Right.
And so these people are more like snails that carry their shell as their home.
Well, that's also the other phenomenon, is that like people that are working have traditionally would have been good middle class jobs, but they can't afford, the rent or to buy a home anymore,
Yeah.
Because it's just gotten out of control,
Agreed.
And aren't you glad you bought your house when you did?
Oh, I pinch myself every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very grateful, Blum, I assure you.
Yes, one of your smarter decisions, right?
It's funny. Mentors have helped along the way, and there's a woman that I worked with who was Bernie Brillstein's fifth wife, and Bernie Brillstein was one of the biggest managers ever. He had managed all of the SNL cast.
Right.
He produced Hee Haw, if you remember, about all the way back, and he was a larger than life, super nice. And then he had a company called Brillstein Gray, and they produced all sorts of hits on HBO. And anyway, his wife was a partner of mine at one point, and she said to me, "You need to buy it. You need to buy a place." And I was, really young, and it's a big chunk, And she said, the sooner you can stop renting, it'll be smart. And so I bought a townhouse in West Hollywood, and it doubled in value. And that's what got me going.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's when I was really young, I bought a place too because I was kind of cheap and I didn't like the idea of paying rent to somebody.
Right, exactly. You're throwing money away. So at
Yeah,
least build something that you have equity in.
right.
And I recommend that now to any young person. As soon as you're able
Yeah,
and you can keep your credit up and don't max your cards, and and if you can do it, it's going to pay off. And even if you can't afford it yourself, you can rent it out to somebody else for more money
that's true.
and then rent something cheaper, but at least it's covered.
Yeah. As long as you can hang on to that property and don't sell if you don't have to. That's the thing. Just because the longer you hang on to it, the better.
It's a hold. It's
Right.
definitely a hold. Yeah.
Exactly. Hold'em, the California Hold'em.
Unless there is still the other school, which are the flippers. These
That's
guys
right.
come in, they
Mhm,
never really move in.
mhm.
They basically hang a flat screen TV and a couch and a bed, and they flip them. They hold on to these big places I've been in, and there's nothing in them, and then they make them an extra $1 million by waiting a year. So it's that's a different style of real estate
But
investment.
I mean, I still believe in buying real estate because it's a way to build wealth, generational wealth, if you want to pass it down.
Yeah,
But young adults, they're saying they don't want to buy things anymore. They want to just live
live
adventure.
with their parents.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Right. Live with their parents. That's a good,
Why buy when you can,
yeah, that's
get
right.
your whole room back?
And mom will cook dinner for you.
And plus, you get dinner and laundry. I mean, what could be better, right?
Right? Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm just saying, as soon as you can afford to buy something, that's my advice. Buy, buy, buy.
I happen to agree with
Anyways,
you.
well, it was really nice talking to you, Michael. I hope to see you at your next little jam. There's so many musicians I know through you and Lori.
Yeah. Alan's at the Trip tonight.
Oh, is he? Oh,
Saboteurs at the Trip in Venice.
yeah.
So that's tonight.
I was, I was,
Yeah,
I was just because I was teasing Lori when I said you got your guys' house is kind of like you are the new Mama Cass supposedly used to hook people up.
there've been a few hookups at my house. Yes.
Business and otherwise. No.
Yeah, yeah. If my jacuzzi could talk, but
Yeah. Thanks again, Michael, and I'll talk to you soon.
Looking forward to it.